This story was sent in by a woman from Saigon. Not just one story, but five, all supposedly true. And the first happened more than 30 years ago to her aunt. It started when her auntie, let's call her Aunt Bay, got married and moved in with her husband's family. A year into the marriage, her in-laws gifted them a piece of land near a place called Ko Sang, along the road that led up to Phut Kodun, a lonely Buddha temple on a mountain. Back then, the area was deserted, trees so thick they formed walls of shadow on both sides. The land had one small thatched house, old, broken, left untouched for years. Dust blanketed everything, cobwebs stretched across every corner like silent warnings. But the couple couldn't afford to rebuild. In Vietnam, people also believe in Tui Lam Nha, a spiritual calculation of the right age to construct a home. They weren't of age yet, so they cleaned it up, made it livable, and moved in. There was no electricity, only oil lamps. For the first week, everything seemed fine. Her husband would bike her to work at a textile factory near her mother's home. In the evening, he'd pick her up and they'd pedal back down that long, silent road. But on the second week, the second night, something changed. That night, they were asleep. A small kerosene lamp flickered dimly in the room. Around midnight, Aunt Bay turned over and, for no reason at all, opened her eyes and looked toward the door. There was no door, actually, just an opening. They didn't bother with doors or curtains. It was just the two of them, after all. And standing there were two figures. At first, she couldn't tell if they were men or women. They were tall, taller than any normal human. Their bodies were thin, sickly, but each had a stomach bulging like a woman in her 8th month of pregnancy. She gasped. Her husband woke up, followed her eyes, and he saw them too. Without saying a word, the two figures stepped forward, slowly. Each footfall deliberate, like time had thickened around them. The couple lay there, completely frozen, couldn't move, couldn't scream. As the figures approached, their features became clearer and more horrifying. Their skin was pale, their limbs too long, their faces almost human, except their fangs. Each of them had two sharp, yellowed fangs curling down so far they nearly touched their throats. They weren't wearing clothes, only a piece of cloth wrapped around the waist, its pattern like tiger skin. One of them crouched down and pulled the mosquito net open. Then, calmly, like this was his own bed, he climbed on top of her husband, sat directly on his chest. He stared down, then said in a deep, raspy voice, "Who let you live on our land? Who gave you permission to be here?" He didn't wait for an answer. "How long you last?" And then they left. The moment they disappeared, the couple could finally move. Aunt Bay broke down crying. Her husband sat in silence, breathless. They were both in shock. But even then, they told no one. "If we say anything, no one will believe us," he said. "Your mom will think we're making it up. She bought this land for us. She'll be furious." Instead, they burned incense and quietly apologized to whatever spirits might dwell there. But the terror wasn't over. The next evening, Aunt Bay cooked dinner as usual, but made extra to reheat for breakfast. She left the food in the pots, covered, expecting it to be there in the morning. At dawn, she opened the lids, and everything was gone. Every single bite, not just eaten. The pots were spotless. Not a grain of rice left. It looked cleaned, polished. Her husband guessed it was animals. "Maybe wild pigs," he said. "Tomorrow, cover it tighter. Put something heavy on top." So she did. The next night, she cooked again, covered everything, placed logs on the lids, went to bed. Morning came. The food was gone, again, and the pots, still covered, the logs untouched. At that point, her husband decided to wait and watch. He set up a lantern outside the kitchen. Then, around 3 a.m., he crept outside and hid behind the firewood pile. He waited. And then, something appeared. He didn't see it arrive. It just was there, like it had stepped out of the darkness itself. A tall, bony figure, shirtless, wearing tattered army pants that hung off him like dead leaves. His ribs stuck out. His skin sagged over bone. One side of his skull had a gaping hole, and his eyes weren't alive. The creature stepped toward the food, lifted the heavy lid like it weighed nothing. Then, casually, it started eating, with its hands, scooping rice into its mouth, slurping the soup. Then it began to lick the pots. Its tongue was long, black, slithering like a snake, dragging across the bottom of each pot, leaving them gleaming like they'd just been washed. Her husband couldn't move, could barely breathe. The creature finished eating, replaced the lid, set the log back down, and walked into the woods. Vanished. He didn't tell Aunt Bay, just said it was wild pigs and told her to move the food inside the main house, lock the back door. But it didn't matter. The next night, it came again. And this time, it spoke. "I'm a demon," it said, crouched over their food. "I've lived here a long, long time. Why did you move the food? You want me to starve? If you ever hide it again, I'll break your necks." They stood frozen. Aunt Bay, terrified, clung behind her husband's back as the thing devoured every bite of food they'd tried to hide. It spoke like it belonged there, like they were the intruders. "You think you can live here and not feed me?" He licked the last drops from the pot, his long black tongue sweeping like a mop soaked in darkness. Then he turned. "We'll see how long you last." And just like that, he vanished into the night. That night, neither of them could sleep. They sat upright until the sky turned gray. The next day, Aunt Bay refused to cook. She was too scared. They ate dinner at her mother's house instead, returned late, and tried to settle in without leaving any food behind. But demons don't just hunger for rice and meat. That night, after cleaning up and locking every door, they tried to sleep again. Sometime past midnight, the room grew cold, breathless. They both woke up. The demon was there, inside their bedroom. Its eyes glowing faintly in the dark, its massive hands wrapped around their throats. "Why didn't you cook for me tonight? Why?" Each word was a growl, deep and gurgling, like it rose from a throat that hadn't drawn breath in decades. They couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Their vision blurred, their limbs convulsed. And just before losing consciousness, it let go. "I'll see how long you last," it said again, then disappeared. That was it. That was the last straw. By 1:30 a.m., Aunt Bay begged her husband, "I can't do this anymore. Take me back to Ma's house, please." But her husband hesitated. The road to her mother's home was miles of jungle path, pitch black, no lights, no houses. Riding a bike through that at night? It might be even worse than staying. They sat, trembling until sunrise. That morning, they told the truth, to both sides of the family. Her mother believed them immediately. She said that land might have been occupied for a long time. Maybe by spirits, maybe something darker. She suggested two things: make proper offerings, or call a Thuy. Note, a Thuy is a Vietnamese spiritual practitioner, sometimes a monk, sometimes a shaman, called upon to handle hauntings, curses, or ghost disturbances. But her husband's family didn't believe a word of it, especially his mother, whom they called Bachin, and his two younger sisters. They thought it was an excuse. "We gave you land and now you're making up ghost stories?" she snapped. "You two are being ridiculous." But Aunt Bay broke down in tears, telling them everything, how it started from the two tall spirits that first appeared, to the demon in the kitchen, to the choking in the night. Still, Bachin didn't believe. "Fine," she said. "If you two are so scared, we'll sleep there tonight. Let's see this ghost for ourselves." That evening, 4 of them went to the haunted house. Bachin, her 2 daughters, and her youngest son, Aunt Bay's brother-in-law. The couple had eaten dinner at the grandmother's house, so there was no food to bring back or cook. They arrived around 5:30 p.m. After chatting a bit, they made sleeping arrangements. Aunt Bay and her husband would sleep in the bedroom, as usual. The 3 women set up mats and mosquito nets in the front room, right where the demon usually came to eat. The youngest brother took the side corner. They lay down. It was just past 10:30 p.m. when the screaming began. The scream broke through the silence like a glass shattering in slow motion. Aunt Bay and her husband shot up from the bed and ran to the front room, just in time to see chaos. Bachin and her 2 daughters were sitting upright, pale-faced, frozen in fear. The youngest son, their brother-in-law, pointed a trembling hand toward the far corner of the room. It's standing there?" And it was. The demon stood near the small ancestral altar. Its eyes were glowing faintly in the dark, its long black tongue still wet from food. It wasn't attacking, just staring. Then it spoke. "I told you, this is my land. I've lived here far longer than you understand. I don't like being disturbed." It raised one bony arm and pointed toward the door. "You want to live here? Fine. Let's see how long you last." Then it turned away, slowly, deliberately, and disappeared into the forest again. No one spoke. No one even breathed, until the youngest son broke down in tears. That broke the trance. Right then, still deep in the night, they all packed their things and left. They didn't care about the long, dark forest road anymore. Whatever lay beyond those trees was better than staying another minute in that house. By sunrise, both families gathered. There was no more doubt. No one said it was imagination anymore. They called a spiritual master, a Thoy, to come to the land. He stood in the middle of the yard, holding burning incense. His eyes stayed closed for a long time. Then he said, "Something ancient is here. This is not a ghost, not a wandering soul. This is a territorial spirit. It's claimed the land as its own." He explained that long ago, maybe during the war, maybe even earlier, something had died here, violently, and that presence had never left. Over time, it became something else, a Quy. Note, in Vietnamese folklore, a Quy is not a typical ghost or demon. It's a spiritual being that inhabits a specific place, born from hatred, betrayal, or tragedy. It doesn't appear and vanish. It stays. It rules. According to the Thoy, this spirit had been fed. Maybe intentionally, maybe by mistake. But once fed, it became part of the land's rhythm. And when that rhythm was broken, it turned violent. A simple offering wouldn't be enough. He had to perform a ritual of expulsion. It would take days. Offerings. Chants, burning sacred herbs, drawing red ink talismans, called bua, to trap and push the spirit out. Note, a bua is a traditional Vietnamese spiritual seal used to protect, bind, or expel spirits. Commonly drawn in red ink and used in rituals. During the ceremony, strange things happened. Snakes crawled from under the floor. Wind blew from inside the house outward. The small altar caught fire without anyone near it. When it was over, the Thoy said, "It's gone. For now. But this place is marked. No one should ever live here again." He buried a protective charm under the house and gave strict instructions. Never leave food out overnight. Never sleep here alone. Never speak its name again. Eventually, Aunt Bay and her husband returned. They followed every rule. And for a while, things were quiet. But even now, Aunt Bay says the land feels wrong, like it remembers. And late at night, and deep in the woods behind the house, if you listen closely, you might still hear something licking the bottom of a pot. Some things don't need your belief. They only need your fear. Thank you for watching until the very end. If there were any flaws in the visuals or narration, I hope you'll forgive them. Every ghost story is a reminder. Not everything in this world needs to be understood. Some things only need your fear. If you enjoyed the story, feel free to leave a like and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss the next chilling tale. Sleep well tonight, if you can.